Police will work with the African community leaders to tackle youth crime in the state.
Standing side by side with African leaders, police have announced a new approach.
The formation of a community task force that will support Victoria Police.
Members of the community say they've received death threats, blaming media coverage for fuelling racism.
We love to call them gangs, African gangs, and majority of these kids are born here. They're bloody Australian. Let me call them that way.
Okay, that's a really weird angle. They're bloody Australian, mate! These gangs aren't African gangs, they're fucking Australian gangs. This is bloody 100% true blue dinky dog fucking crime. Australia! We've got to support our local Aussie gangs, mate! Otherwise they'll all go overseas. It'll be the Australian film industry all over again. This task force is a big deal, right? It's a result of a lot of people talking a lot about African gangs, like a lot.
Gang violence and so-called African gangs are a very hot topic in Melbourne at the moment.
Missing in action, Herald Sun reports the Victorian government's top 3 leaders are all on holidays while the state is in the grip of an African gang crisis.
Now, let's all just calm down. Terms like that, terms like African gang crisis, they are not very helpful and they're not very accurate. Firstly, the recent spate of crimes we're talking about here have involved a small number of people of Sudanese and South Sudanese backgrounds. That's just 2 African countries, okay? We just can't start freaking out about everyone from that entire continent. If the people committing these crimes were French, we wouldn't all suddenly be going, oh no, we're in the midst of a European gang crisis. European gang crisis sounds like a cool German techno band. Hello! We are European gang crisis. Love you. Secondly, right, just for the facts, just 1.5% of criminal offenders in Victoria are Sudanese born. Now, yes, Victoria's Sudanese and South Sudanese communities combined do make up just 0.14% of the total population. So that community does happen to be overrepresented in the crime statistics. And yes, the rate of crimes like assault and burglaries are going up, but overall, the Victorian crime rate is falling. So we're not saying it's not a problem, but we shouldn't really be using the blanket term Africans, and it's not really fair to call it a crisis, and turns out these gangs aren't even really gangs.
It's not sort of structured and organised, it's not sort of like a bikie gang or other gangs that we have in Victoria, that we know have structure and names and organised meetings, etc. It's not of that nature. It's more coming together in a more of an ad hoc way.
Yeah, man. We're not about structures. It's much more loosey-goosey in our crime. We're not into structures and schedules like those other gangs. We're like Google, man. Okay, everybody else heard that, right? I'm not... Make sure you're coming down to be part of our live studio audience, everybody. Right, serious, I'm trying to fix a big problem here. The way that we talk about this stuff really does matter, I think, because when there's this big, ugly climate of fear swimming everywhere, that has real consequences for real people that they have to deal with. Take Habib, right? He's an Ethiopian dude. He's lived in Australia for 31 years. He was being interviewed by the ABC, and this passing white guy just walked past, decided to chip in some sweet, helpful advice.
They're making every community, in African community,
Wow! I believe we actually have footage of Anthony Albanese commenting on that random man.
The bloke's a tool.
Okay, there you go. Thanks, Albo. The media frenzy around this stuff has been bonkers. It's become so bad that the media itself is now responsible for the very criminal behaviour it's been reporting on, okay? Look at this story from January 3rd. This is the Daily Mail reporting about a gang flare-up between African youths, which is all very scary, except we found out today, according to Victorian police, there was no gang and there was no flare-up until the aggressive behaviour of the Daily Mail photographer provoked that group of teenagers. Wow, so apparently this Daily Mail photographer is responsible for provoking the youths. That is terrifying. I am terrified. I am now terrified of Daily Mail photographers. In fact, extrapolating from the actions of this one journalist, I'm now terrified of all journalists. Even those who kindly look a little bit like journalists. I am freaking out here, people. I'm too scared to go out to restaurants in case I'll run into a journalist. I'm not worried about African gang crime anymore. I'm worried about Australian press gang crime. Ah!